Yes.
Let me ask you something, guys. Let's go back to let's do a quick mental exercise here. I'm curious your thoughts on this. Let's go back to the analogy in the beginning of our conversation where we said, okay, all of a sudden now, Alexei or Chris or Tony, you guys just pop into existence one day. Nobody's around you. There's nothing else around you. Where do you start on this journey of, because everything we have in our universe right now in our life is based upon what other people tell us. And this is how we learn. We learn from each other as a species. But if no one's there to tell you what stars are or planets, and you are now all of a sudden, poof, you pop into existence, there's not another human being around you, and you're just in space looking around, and you see points of light, but you don't even know what light is. They're there, right? How do we then, at that point, do we go through existence if we never come into contact with another human being where our perception of life in the universe is fundamentally different? Or is a fact that, I guess my point is, does not just our perception of the universe, but does the universe itself actually change once you have another human being now in the calculus? Because if it's just you alone in the universe and there's no one to tell you anything, and you are brand new, born into the universe, poof, now you're here and you're looking around, what then do we make of our state? Is there a thing called an ego, right? And self-awareness and self-identity if there's no one else around you to compare to, right? It's just you and now the universe.
Yeah, I like to say that like perception is very similar to what you say. We live in the smooth pond of the universe. Now you imagine the earth with no mind. It's the smooth pond of the universe. And then you have a human gets dropped into it, right? And they have their own wants, don't wants, assumptions, and expectations based off of the delusions that have been instilled throughout a life. And so those are pebbles of energy being tossed into a pond, and they create ripples that go outward. And so now you put another person here, you put another person here, you put a person over there. All these ripples emulating outward from my body are overlapping with your, the ripples you're sending out, with the ones that Chris is sending out, with Artisan Tony sending out. And that creates a very distorted natural existence.
But the way I like to think about creation is that all of the energy is in our universe, right? That exists in our bubble of our universe, right? And when a human is created, that's assembling, matter and whatever into a being that will then become sentient, right? So it's whoever, our creator takes that existing energy and creates a being.
From the microscopic level, right? If you think about it, it comes from the microscopic level, grows through all those dimensional levels, and then becomes us.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that's how you can look at it as, on a spiritual level without there being a textbook. That's how we can relate it more to an overall creator than just...
We just think that growth is stopping at us, Lou. It's from DNA, you imagine. We assume it stops at us, right? Because we die. But I'm just arguing, just don't stop at a human. Just keep going.
Sure. So let me ask you this, and again, I know this is completely not at all involving UAPs, this entire conversation, so I haven't derailed the conversation.
It's more fun.
But let me ask you this. So as you're saying, Tony, is that, that the Creator creates the vessel for our growth and our ability to be our spiritual self to experience the universe. My question for you is this then, is, the old saying is, I think, therefore I am. But is it also possible I am and therefore I think, right? So my question is it that this is created for something inside to reside and experience the universe, or the fact that this exists, now there is something inside to experience the universe? What I'm hoping
is that the thing that we call our spirit exists all the time, infinitely, and that this container was created just for this experience on Earth.
So this is a container, and it's for something else. Whereas instead of this being, how should I say, the Coca-Cola exists because the Coke bottle exists. But what you're saying is the Coke bottle exists so the Coca-Cola can exist.
Yeah, and hopefully when this body's gone, and like I think who was it, Chris? You said
So it can manifest.
worm food.
Coca-Cola can manifest.
When this body is fertilizer, I can still keep existing.
So can AI have a point where artificial intelligence, where it has enough processes and computations where it too can become self-aware, meaning that now we've created a container for some sort of I guess my question is it possible for AI to ever be sentient?
I think so. I think it's gonna have to develop. I think maybe smarter people will have to develop it for it to get to that point. I know Elon Musk is really concerned about that situation.
I think that's what we're building now with the global.
I think it's going to take several more generations of human programming.
So then, where does that sentience come from? If we create a bottle, then at what point does that sentience, that conscious now, all of a sudden, where is it coming from in order for it to occupy that artificial intelligence?
That's a good point, because that insinuates that if there's a creator, that it's allowing sentience to become part of the artificial intelligence, right? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly. And again, I don't have any. These aren't trick questions. I'm just asking hypotheticals here, because we are a carbon-based unit, but if you have now a silicone-based unit that can do the same processes intellectually that we do, basically replicate the brain, then at what point does that become a living, breathing, conscious, sentient organism that is just like us? It's just not carbon-based. And if so, where does that come from? And who decides that, okay, now we're at a critical point where consciousness can now reside in that instead of, this flesh and blood vessel. I'm going to put it in silicone and tin and nickel.
So, Lou, is this a breadcrumb? Are you telling us that after humans?
I'm not, guys. This is. We are. Let me, for the record,
if I could take a stab at it, I am what I think I am, but to you, I am whatever you think I am. I played a lot with that, and I played a lot with my ego, you could say. And you take off your hats, and I'm not saying you take off your hats and stuff. I'm saying, like, when you take off your work hats and your ego, you end up jumping into the delusion of what people think you are. And so that's why you have to use your ego in certain points to steer through the delusion and remove yourself of the negative minds that may be projecting onto you. But when it comes to sentient life, and at what point does it become sentient? I've been looking a lot at our own human experience. And from my understanding, our consciousness, our conscious experience is somewhat the overlapping of energies being projected from another dimension. I like to use the fifth dimension because I like to say that our fourth dimension of space and time, like our perception of time is the fourth dimension. So I always say the fifth dimension. So at what point does energy synchronize to create a conscious experience? And so when you think about the circadian rhythm of the human, and you think about how each one of those waves, delta, theta, alpha, beta, slow gamma, and fast gamma, relates to different layers and distances, you can actually make a map of your conscious experience through the dimension of conscious density. And when you do that map, it basically mimics a gyroscope hanging on a string at a 90-degree angle. But then what I did was I went ahead, and so I realized that's a gyroscope hanging on a string at a 90-degree angle. So basically, it shows that our consciousness is the synchronization of 6 or so energies that are tidally locked in the fifth dimension. And so when you have fifth dimensional tidal locking, I would say that's the spark of a conscious experience.